The following is a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed on the program are solely that of Hire Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands. Welcome in, everybody, to Taking Care of Business featuring Hire Insurance. And I have, of course, Matt Hire with me. Our normal Friday visit. Although we haven't seen each other in a couple weeks. So glad to have you on. Sorry to stick you with Wade.
Oh, I know. We made it work. He talked about my mustache a lot, but
okay. He's obsessed with anything that might even be remotely linked to George Clooney.
Yeah.
And Clooney's got a great mustache going on, so
he was calling me Tom Selleck for a while.
Okay. I don't quite see the Tom Selleck.
Thank you.
It's not 80s 70s stash. It's a little more swashbuckler is what I'm getting. You got the goatee going with it.
Okay.
Maybe a little Errol Flynn. Was that too old?
I don't know who that is.
They have no clue. Okay.
If you show me a picture.
Yeah, maybe Orlando Bloom.
Okay.
A little bit more. Okay.
Yep.
There we go. But we're not here to talk about your great mustache, of course. We're here to talk about everything that it is that Hire Insurance offers, and you guys have a lot going on there. I do want to remind people that you can call into the show if you have a question for Matt Hire. Highly encourage you to call in, as a matter of fact. And I know that sometimes people are like, well, maybe it's a dumb question. I've been told so many times by you, there are no dumb questions.
Absolutely not.
And so feel free to call in. You can remain anonymous. It's perfectly fine. You can call or text. If you give us a call, 920-885-4446. If you want to text in, you can call or text at 920-887-9595. And feel free to ask Matt a question, and you'll do best to try to answer it.
Yep.
And if you can't answer it, guess what? He'll get the answer. That's what he does. So, Matt, we're finally getting some sunshine out there.
I know. It's Friday, but when the sun's out, it's just even better of a Friday.
It is an even better day. And our own boss here sent a little message out to the team going, if you happen to get all your work done, 3-day weekend, feel free to bug out a little early if you want. So everybody's scrambling to get as much work done as possible because, as much as we all love to work, we all like to find time to spend some time in our leisure activities.
Yep.
And as some of us are aging in the workforce, thoughts of leisure activities become more and more common.
Well, do you have any big plans for the Memorial Day weekend?
I'm thinking about maybe picking up the fishing license, hitting the lake a little bit.
Okay.
Doing some fishing with the kids might be fun. I know the wife is hoping I'll spend some time working on a few projects around the house. That's probably not going to happen because, 3-day weekend, you got to enjoy it.
Exactly.
And I'm sure the girl will get fired up at least 2 out of the 3 nights of this weekend. So.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, that is, my plans are to yard work, of course. Maybe. That'll be on the list. But I have a brisket.
Oh.
Yes. So my brother gets a cow, or a steer, I should say, from the fair. And I've had it in there, and I can't let that go to waste. So I've had it out since Tuesday. It's thawed. Now we're going to inject it tonight.
Okay.
Rub it down tomorrow, and then Sunday, actually probably like at Saturday night about 10 o'clock, I'm going to put it on the smoker.
Oh, nice. How long are you going to let it go for?
18 hours.
I like it.
I
like
know.
it. That's awesome.
It's a fun thing because it's like the smokers nowadays are like easy Barbie ovens.
Oh, yeah.
You set it to a temperature, put the probes in, and once it hits a certain, temperature, pull it.
Right. And now, the probe can have an app, the grill can have an app, the smoker has an app. I mean, at this point, the only thing you need is a machine to make your drinks for you that has an app, and you're set.
Yes, I know. So it's my kind of cooking. So I'm excited. I'm going to do that. And then, we just have a weekend off, and so it's really cool. And obviously the weekend and our day off Monday is for Memorial Day. So just remembering all those veterans that made the ultimate sacrifice. So, yeah, it's going to be exciting and hopefully get a little bit better weather.
Right.
Because we're almost to June.
Yeah.
And it still was really cold this week.
It was really cold this week. 60s over the weekend, more than likely. Memorial Day is shaping up to look like a pretty good day. So should be nice. Of course, the Daily Dodge TV crew will be out at the Memorial Day ceremony, as we always are.
Okay.
Filming that. So anybody who wants to watch, tune in 10:15 on Monday. You can tune into Daily Dodge TV and watch.
And where's that located at?
It'll be on our we'll be on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel and on dailydodge.com. Or stop by live. I mean, as much as I'd love to get views, stop by live. That's going to be out at the Veterans Cemetery on 33.
Okay.
So people can definitely swing out there 10:15 in the morning. Check that out. Well worth being there live. Whole different feel.
Absolutely.
I want to jump back just a moment because I'm thinking about what you're talking about with the with grilling and how it's so much easier nowadays. And that's because a lot of people smarter than us found ways to innovate and make that work. when it comes to what you guys do, it's a lot of people smarter than us who have had the education, the training, and the understanding and done this so many repetitive times that you can answer all the dumb questions we have, even though there are no dumb questions.
That was a great segue.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you. A little bit of a callback. We'll try that. But of course, it leads me into my first question, which I had this just come up recently with my wife because she was still hung up on the concept of how does she get Social Security if she hasn't worked in X number of years, hasn't hit her credits, hasn't done whatever. In her case, once we started having kids, she said, I'm going to stay at home, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. Not uncommon, very common actually. And that's just going to be what I do until all the kids have gotten through school or to a point where they can take care of themselves. And then I'll look at getting back into the workforce. Well, by then, she may only have enough time left in her retirement before retirement where she may not get much of a credit going on. Or she might earn all the credit she needs, but her Social Security might be absolute garbage compared to mine. But that's not something necessarily to freak out or worry about.
Absolutely not. And that's why, creating that account online really helps because it'll show what she can get. So we can't see the spousal benefit, but the spousal benefit is a simple call to Social Security because their software is a little bit more advanced than ours. And we can see in even numbers, just because it's prorated, obviously, because not everyone turns their Social Security on at the exact same age.
Right.
But hypothetically, you go to Medicare, you turn your Social Security on at 65, and then your wife does too, because we're all not the same age, obviously.
Right.
And so if it's even numbers, you turn on the same age, whether it's 62, 62, 65, 65. But basically, she's entitled to up to half of yours. So like if yours was 3,000 and hers was 1,000, she potentially could have up to 1,500. They would raise that. And it makes it really confusing. They're just going to give her 1,000 and then they're going to pull 500 from yours. And it doesn't affect yours. But yes, that is a benefit. And, so that's why they don't teach us this stuff.
Right.
And it's hard for me to explain it because, be like, wait a second, you said I could get half. It's like, yes, but you turned yours on at 64. So she's only going to get half of your 64 amount. Right. So that's why it gets a little confusing. But yes, those are typical questions we get, and people are just blown away. They're like, what? I never knew that at all. And it's, yes, because they don't teach us this stuff.
Right. And I have a lot of family members who they work family farms. That's the business. And all the income, all the salary, everything falls under dad.
Yep.
And mom works the farm just as hard as dad, if not harder sometimes. We've all heard the saying, takes care of the kids and the farm. The time to claim Social Security, hers looks like nothing. It's like, the last time you worked was at the soda shop, in
when
high
you were
school. 16,
yeah.
Yeah, and it's been a while. But so that's kind of a benefit that really helps out those people as well.
Absolutely. And that's why, they also have the spousal benefit, for like previous marriages. So if you're married more than 10 years, you potentially could be entitled up to half of your previous spouse. So that's why, if we do have a prior marriage and we were married longer than 10 years, we're going to need all that prior spouse's information. So we'll need their name, date of birth, Social Security number, date of marriage, date of divorce, and you could potentially pull off that. There is extenuating circumstances where you can't remarry. If you remarry prior to age 60, then you're not entitled to that. Right. So there is always these, catches, but that's why Social Security gave us a bunch of books. They gave us some Medicare information books. They gave us surviving spouse books, understanding your retirement benefit books. There's a couple other ones I can't remember offhand, but if you want one of these complimentary books, all you got to do is stop by our office. We're located at Heritage Mall, right next to Joann's.
Formerly
Joann's. And just ask, be like, hey, I heard on the radio that you guys have books on Social Security or Medicare, and we can hand them out because we get them for free, and we'll just order some more. But yeah, they are they're filled with information, but some of it's obviously government, so it's a little confusing. Right. But at least you can look it over. They're thin books. They're not like a huge binder or anything like that. But they're very informative, and at least you can highlight things, write questions down, and then just give us a call, and we can set up an appointment and just go over your questions or chat. and there is no fee. I can't stress that enough because so many people, they always say they're wasting my time.
Right.
But I got to be at the office anyway.
Right.
So if I can answer a question and you're satisfied, and yes, I helped you sign up for Social Security, you already had insurance, so like I didn't benefit from it, but you might tell someone about your experience.
Right.
So I can't retire in every person I see, or else I'd be retired.
Yeah, you'd be done by now.
I'd be done. No, but that's why, yes, we're just here to educate, and walk you through the process. And I really do feel comfortable signing you up for Social Security or Medicare, and helping you assist that. And so you don't have to set up a phone appointment or go up to the Social Security office, which you cannot sign up for Social Security in person anymore. So if you're going to go up there, they will not. They will schedule you a phone appointment. But that's why I want you, if you're getting a spousal benefit or a widower's benefit, we want all that information, because if we don't have it, we don't fill the app out thoroughly, they're going to request stuff. So they're going to, at the end of it, when we submit the application, they could request, hey, we need a death certificate, a marriage certificate, a birth certificate, and they want original documents.
Right. Which sometimes can be a real pain in the butt to get.
Yes. So you have two options. You can either go to your local Social Security office and then they can verify that document, take a copy of it, and then you can bring it home. Or you can mail the original documents to your local Social Security office and then they will return them. But some people, those original documents are hard to find.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Where did we put those again?
Well, and I know in some cases, my wife's a great example of this. We have her original birth certificate. Thank goodness. The records building where they had all the originals has since burned down. And so getting another copy is a weird round, emails and phone calls and whatever to figure out who is in charge of this information now.
Oh, absolutely. And another thing that is very confusing. So I have to go by whatever the government has your name. And it's confusing because some people, their driver's license might say Matt Hire, but then my Social Security card says Matthew Hire. And whatever they send you for your Medicare card, even if your name is spelled wrong, which that has happened,
right,
we have to sign you up as that person because that's just who they have you at under your Social Security number. And that's where we want to make sure if we have that situation, which it's more common than I thought, we want to get that fixed.
Right.
Because it is hard to change a bunch of stuff once we get our Social Security and our Medicare card, and it's tough.
How do people not do people not look at their Social Security cards ever?
I had a gentleman that for 5 years he was on Medicare, and I looked at his card all of a sudden when I was reviewing his drug plan. I'm like, your name's spelled wrong on this. He's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, well, why didn't you get this fixed? And he's like, well, I called there and they wanted me to send my driver's license. He's like, well, then I'll get pulled over and I won't have it. And they recommended that he could take a copy of his driver's license and then keep that until they return it. And he's like, I'm not doing that. And they said he could come up there, and he's like, nope, I'm not doing that either. So he left it.
Wow.
I know. And it was like 2 letters were backwards.
Right.
So it looked like his name, but once I looked at it twice, I was like, no kidding. And we have to copy that. So even if I'm writing your name wrong, I have to go by what the government has you on your Medicare card.
I can only imagine the number of people at home right now looking at their Social Security cards going, okay, it's right.
Yep. And my mom had it. She, I think her Social Security card said Sandy, but her birth certificate says Sandra. It's so funny when we have to pay our taxes and stuff that they don't care if our name's wrong. You still have to pay.
No, that's all fine. Yeah.
But yeah, and that's just because you could come out, to Medicare and say, well, that's not me. I'm not paying this bill. So we have to just copy it. And then once you get it fixed, then we can send an updated copy of your Medicare card to whichever insurance company or provider we need to.
Now, if it's somebody who needs to get that fixed, is that a long process? Does that take forever? If I come to you and I talk to you and you're like, hey, by the way, your name is spelled wrong on here, so that's how I have to put it in. Can I be like, oh, let me get that fixed first and come back?
Well, typically when people are meeting me, it's the 90 days prior, they're signing up for Medicare. So then we do the government stuff, get you signed up, and then they come back again, and when we talk about plans and stuff, and they have their Medicare card. So it's a little late, to do that.
Right.
And so prior, if your birth certificate, your driver's license, or you're getting your Social Security statements and it's not your name, or it's, there's a letter missing or a different middle initial, those are times to do it now, because then we only have to do it through Social Security.
Right. One department, not four.
Yes, and then because then we'll have to do it through the DMV, through Medicare, through Social Security, and it's a process. You have to call a bunch of different federal government entities.
Right.
So the sooner the better, obviously, but I just didn't realize that it's a thing that people just overlook. You know, like they're like, oh yeah, that's me. Well, kind of.
Right.
You
Close
know,
enough.
Yeah, because I am Matt Heyer, but to the government, I'm Matthew Heyer.
Right. It feels weird to even think of calling you Matthew as opposed to Matt. So I get it.
Well, and it's just so common. I mean, I was at the bank when I was signing for my first house. You know, the 30 times you sign, and then that last signature, you're going to pay this off in 2063, and wow, it's a long ways out. But I was just signing my name, Matt Heyer, and she's like, "Oh, your name's Matt?" I was like, "No, it's technically Matthew," and this was on like signature 28,
Right.
But I didn't even realize, like, yeah, I signed my name, Matt Heyer. And that's not my name.
And see, luckily with my signature, nobody can read it. So all I get is, in a court of law, if we point to that and say it's you, you'll say yes, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's me.
And that's essentially what I would do. I would say, yep, that's my signature. But yeah, it's especially when you see a lot of these athletes.
Oh yeah, their signatures are crazy.
Yes, and it's but then you have these guys, like I watch the Pawn Stars or whatever, and you know, they have the verification guys come in and they're like, yep, you know, in the early 2000s, this is how he was writing his name. It's just crazy and I guess, yeah, my name's kind of been pretty similar ever since I've been signing my name.
I actually found out recently, and I didn't know this was even a thing, but there are people out there who will teach you how to do a signature. So if you come to them and you say, hey, my initials are MH for Matt Heyer, they'd be like, oh. And then they'll give you like a couple different like creative ways to write your name so that you can have a unique signature. And in most cases, it's just, you know, it's a nice creative M, a nice creative H, and then just like a little scribble afterwards, like most celebrities have.
Sure.
So that you don't have the typical, you know, garbage looking signature that a lot of people have. So it's a thing for celebrities out there. If you really want a good signature, Matt Heyer, maybe something to look into.
I might have to. I don't think I have to really worry about, you know.
Anybody coming back to analyze it at Pawn Stars?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to give too many autographs out, but and now with like, you know, the shift of technology, like a lot of our information is sent via DocuSign.
Right.
You know, so we send you an email, you know, you click start, and then you can create your signature, but you're not signing anything.
Right.
You're just clicking sign, sign, finish. So, yeah, I wonder where we're going to go with signatures beyond that. Fingerprints, maybe?
I was saying, most things have fingerprint scanners. That could be next.
Yeah.
Could be a thing. I do want to remind people, if they want to call the office there, 920-887-0580 is the number to call to get a hold of anybody on the team over there. Booking an appointment if you have a basic question, you know, if you want to know the hours of operation, all of that, they're going to have that information for you. If you do want to call the show and ask a question of Matt Heyer, again, highly welcome you to do so. You can call us at 920-885-4446, or you can call or text us at 920-887-9595. I know Jeff Hall is up in the studio ready to bring up any texts if we have any, so he'll be sure to share those with us. And as we're about at the middle of the show, go ahead and give the disclaimer now as well.
Sounds good.
Reminding everybody this is a paid program. The advice and opinions expressed during the program are solely that of Heyer Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands. I want to take a moment to stress to people, because we've talked about this before, when it comes to going on and logging into those government websites, there's a really key piece of information. It should be ending with a .gov.
Yes, absolutely.
We've seen a lot where somebody will use the right, you know, socialsecurity.com, .ca, something else, and that's not official. And it can be a great way for people to get scammed or make mistakes. So you definitely want that .gov at the end of your...
Well, absolutely. And just once again, with the technology, you know, a lot of people are doing their own research. You know, that was just unheard of when I first started.
Right.
You know, they were coming to me for full guidance. So it's actually kind of impressive when people are like, oh, yes, I know I could do an Advantage plan or a supplement. Or I know I can sign up for Social Security at 62 and max it out at 70. And you're like, wow, you know. But the kicker is the most frustrating ones with those .govs. So for health insurance under 65, there's healthcare.gov,
Right.
which we call the marketplace.
Yes.
There is a healthcare.com. And if you click on that, and of course, it's the top sponsor.
Oh, of course.
They paid the most, which I think the government one should be on top. But regardless, if you start inputting any data in there, they will find you. They will call you. And then some of them are not even actual health insurance. You know, they're like indemnity plans. Like, oh, you go to the ER, we'll give you $50. It's like, well, my bill was a lot more than $50.
Right.
And then also Medicare.com. That's another one. It's they just find you again. Like one person said they inputted something and they got a call like within 30 seconds.
Right.
That's scary. And they said the calls will not stop. And they're always different numbers.
Right.
So that's why we want you to do research. Absolutely. That's why a great resource is our county. The ADRC does events monthly, and it's pure educational. They're not, promoting any companies whatsoever or insurance companies or like, rural insurance brokers, but at least you can get some non-biased, questions answered, and they have to go over everything, and everyone's situation's unique, but it's a good start.
Right.
And then obviously you get a Medicare and Me book. It's a huge book, and it talks about every plan possible, and it's a dry read, very confusing, but that's another resource. It's just when we start to go online, we got to be very careful, and it's just like anything. If you're shopping, we got to make sure we're buying things from credible websites.
Right. That makes sense.
And we've all got it. It's like, oh, nothing came, but they took my money.
Oh, yeah. I saw one the other day, and I thought, wow, this is a really cool camping table that I could use for video stuff. It had these nice aluminum legs that could screw into it, and this whole thing. And we're selling it for just $39.99. I was like, oh, great. And I clicked on the link. It took me to the website. I was like, website seems a little fishy. This price seems a little low. Research the brand just generally. And, they're actually being sold on Amazon for about $800.
Oh, yeah. And that's why, it was so huge when we got the big screen in our conference room, because I'm a visual learner. I like showing people. So I like showing them the government website, showing them how we evaluate these plans, and then you can go home on your laptop or on your tablet, and you can go on, and it should be obviously the same similar page. And, and we just preach education. So if you don't feel like going to these free suppers that you're getting these mailers for, or you don't want to sit through a meeting, that's what we do, is educate. So if you want your own personalized education, complimentary consultation, we'll sit in, what's your needs and wants and concerns, and we'll answer those. We'll show you how we rate different plans, even if you're on Medicare. Is that the right plan for you? Because no one likes change. Not even me, guilty.
Right.
It's like, is the grass greener on the other side? And you know how many times you've been burned thinking that?
Oh, yeah.
So, and a lot of times we do nothing. We're like, hey, you're on a good plan, and, your health and your age and your situation and finances, this makes sense just to do nothing. But that just gives people such peace of mind.
Right.
Where we'll get referrals just from that appointment. So that's why instead of, that's everything we do, right? Estate planning, they're like, well, they talk about it, but then they're like, yeah, we got to call you. We were going to call you, but we forgot. And it's, there are certain deadlines we have to hit sometimes, whether it's during the enrollment period or whatnot. So even coming in now before the enrollment period, we can't do anything,
right?
But we can still talk about it.
Right. Here's
Here's what we're going to look for next year. Let's wait until your next increase comes and see if it's worth, keeping it, switching it, or doing nothing. So there's so many situations where I can't say everyone should just go on this plan and everyone should do this. I think my job would be really boring then.
Right. Well, thankfully, your job's not boring because
No.
you can still do it.
Yes.
And you seem to enjoy doing it, which is great. And it's not just dealing with people going through setting up their Social Security. It's not just working with people who are trying to set up Medicare, be it supplementals or Part A's, Part B's. I don't know how many parts there are, but there's a lot of letters in the alphabet, so I'm sure they'll find a way. But you also work with people when it comes to thinking ahead to that retirement time frame, when they want those leisure activities to not just be weekend activities, but whenever they want activities.
Absolutely. And with retirement, there is, it's your book, you write it. We're just advising and guiding on the way. And we basically at Hire Insurance, to sum it up, we teach people how to retire. Once again, education. We're teaching you, we're walking you through the steps, and there's a process. Right. And that process changes monthly or yearly. There's a lot of different situations that happen. So, whether between our income plans, between the 401k rollovers, between our Medicare, our Social Security, there's a lot of decisions that have to be made that we've never done before. And people lose sleep over this.
Right.
And there isn't a right answer, but yeah, we want to make sure we, check out this, and this before we do this. Because like once we turn on Social Security, you've been on a year or two, but you want to go back to work. We can't. We can only make so much money.
Right.
So that's why we have to make sure it makes sense. And we do the widowed spouse test, making sure like, hey, like one's larger than the other one. So if one of us pass away, the larger of the two will continue on. These are all questions because a lot of people just come in just to sign up for Social Security. They got Medicare or they got group insurance, so they're good to go. And yep, just want to sign up. And then I start asking questions and they're like, well, no, I just want to sign up. And it's like, well, yes, of course, but I don't want you coming back to me and saying, hey, I owe all this money now because I made too much money. And it's like,
right.
Someone didn't educate you enough on that, and I don't want that to be me. So we live in a small town,
right?
So word travels fast. But yes, and that's why, we can just help you walk through the process, but we will teach you how to retire, and every person is different. So that's why it's very unique. And I get to live vicariously through each one of my clients, and we build a relationship and a rapport, and we're on retainer. We're always there at your beck and call to, walk through something, a situation. And some are not, like a lot of them are non-financial situations.
Right.
Like, what do you think of this? What's going on with this? And then, that relates with Rob across the hallway about estate planning.
Right.
Setting up wills, trust, power of attorneys. These are such important things, and we never had to worry about it. Like, hey, I work for an employer. They got me life insurance. I got my spouse life insurance. And we just got it. We got our group insurance, and where do I sign?
Right.
If you do nothing, it just rolls right over to next year. And that's fine, and that's great. Group insurance is very valuable for that. But now we can go seek our own insurance.
Right. And that could be better for you.
Then when you turn 64 years old, we call you a celebrity because your mailbox blows up, your phone blows up, your text messages, emails, they find you. And it's all these marketing companies selling off your data. It's, hey, this person's 64 and your demographic. Mailers start coming. I despise mailers because I have so many people bringing in all this different mail. They usually have a bag or a huge folder. And they're like, is this garbage? Is this garbage? I don't want you to throw it all away.
Right.
Because there could be something important from there. But if you look at fine print typically says they are not part of the Medicare or the federal government, or it would say this is a solicitation, or you will be contacted by a licensed sales agent. Those are all solicitations. Those are all, they want you to go with them. And not saying they might have something great, but you want an independent agent. You want someone that has all products. Like, do we have our favorite products? Yes, but it's because of X, Y, and Z.
Right.
But we have to contract with all these companies because Medicare changes every year. So maybe next year, this company might have a better plan. And then we want to lean you towards that. So that's why with all the stuff going on and, the new administration coming in and really throwing curveballs at a lot of things, right. We're just educating on what we know now. Because any changes that they make to Medicare, Social Security, whatnot, it's maybe in effect for...
Right, it's not going to be immediate change.
No, it'd be 3 years, 5 years down the road.
Right.
I mean, so like just like the new, starting January 1st of 25, you can't spend more than $2,000 on prescription drugs. Perfect. Well, that's a lot of money, actually.
Right.
But not for some of the drugs that are out there. Yes, there's very expensive drugs. So
right, if you're on a maintenance drug, that could be a month for you or 2 months for you.
Right. Well, and that's why, yeah, like if you're on these lower costing drugs, that doesn't affect you whatsoever.
Right.
But these name brand drugs can get very, very expensive. So that started in 2025, and that was from the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. So that was 3 years down the road when we finally saw that. So like, yes, if they made a change today, we're looking at 3 to 5 years out.
Right.
So we will adjust our plan and strategy if there is a change. But for now, we can only go with what we know. So that's why we have to do so much continuing education. It's so much fun. But at the same time, it keeps us sharp on the different situations and the upcoming changes that are being proposed, or Congress is talking about this. And a lot of these proposals get tabled
Right.
And they'll come back to them in a year. Doesn't mean it goes away.
Right.
So we just have to monitor the situation right now. But yes, so many people obviously since January have been coming in and I'm turning on Social Security. I heard it's going away. No, it's not.
Yeah.
I was like, remember in the 80s they said that? And they said in the 90s. And yes, like, I mean, we could make some terrible decisions with our Social Security fund where, okay, yeah, then it might go away, but it just wouldn't happen. And we need the power of Congress and the Senate to actually change structural things like that, which that is another long process, which we don't even want to go down that road. But yeah,
It's a rabbit hole and a half.
it is. And it's, and that's been, once again, through history, that's always been Congress and the Senate, and no offense to them, but yeah, it's obviously everyone has different views. So, but like, that's why we are just going to educate you on what we know today. We can only control today. We're going to plan for the future, but guess what? There's going to be changes and hiccups and we adjust accordingly.
Now, see, I'm a big fan of the concept of analogies for everything. And when I think about what you guys do there, I think of you guys because sometimes it's hard to relate to businesses in the sense of I don't know what an local insurance person does, but I know what a local restaurant does. And when I walk in there, if I walk in and I say I just want a burger and a soda and that's it, and I don't look at anything else on the menu, I personally can never complain if there's a bunch of stuff on the menu I missed out on.
Absolutely.
And that I didn't know existed. Whereas when I walk into Hire Insurance, you guys are going to lay the whole menu out in front of me and say, here's all the things that can definitely apply to you. And I have a chance to look at all the amazing things that are going to be way better than just give me a burger and a soda.
Yep. That's a great analogy. I mean, because, I mean, you're happy with what you got, right? But, and you're going to keep doing that. But at the same time, what about going to that restaurant and just opening the menu?
Right.
And maybe there's nothing on that menu that you want and you've made the right decision. Then we do nothing, right?
Right.
But all of a sudden your favorite cuisine is on there and you're like, I'm trying this. And you just save money or you just, got better insurance or it just opened up another avenue. And that was a great analogy. That's exactly what we do. So like, that's why I'll have people come in and say, nope, I want what my husband has or my wife has, or my sister told me about this. This is what I want. And I was like, okay, like we can do that, but I'm still going to show you both your options. You have to see it because I don't want you coming back and saying, well, I didn't know they had this over here. It's like, well, it's because you told me you want this.
Right.
And I learned the hard way. Like I've done that. Like I came in and their husband or wife had it and they want the same thing. It's like, yes. And then a few years later, they're like, well, my neighbor has this. And I show them that. And they're like, well, why didn't we see this? It's like, well, so like, that's why even if you say that, I learned from my mistakes, obviously, I'm going to show you both. Even if you're like, nope, I heard bad things about those, don't want it. I agree, right? But I'm still going to show you my favorite one, pros and cons of it, and maybe it could be something later in the future.
Right.
So that's why our needs and wants change throughout our retirement. So we have those go-go years where we're going to be traveling more. We will have that surgery. We will pick where we want that physical therapy. We will be spending more money. We have the slow-go years where a little less traveling, maybe doctoring a little, but just because we're in the slow-go years does not mean we're doctoring. Everyone's cliche thought of the older I get, the more I doctor.
Right.
That's not true at all.
Right. You might have very well health and then not have to worry about that.
Right. My grandma is 97, at an assisted living, and I mean, she has her 2-3 appointments a year or something, but nothing major, just like 65-year-olds. So, and then we have the no-go years where, we're not traveling, we're obviously staying more home, and our needs and wants for insurance, I might not have some major surgery because I'm 80 plus years old.
Right.
And it's all situational. So our insurance needs actually change, whether it be life insurance, health insurance, retirement. So we go in stages, and that's why it's never boring because things always change, and you just get to walk people through this. And like youth, like we talked about, you want someone that's going to be there your whole retirement.
Right.
That's a big deal. Like I've talked to people where they've had 3 or 4 advisors already. I'm like, you've been retired 4 years.
Right.
How has that happened?
I didn't like that guy.
Well, no, they just said they kept a new one just came. And a new one
they
just
get assigned
came.
a new board. Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, and that's why, yeah, you want transparency. You want to build a rapport with someone, so everyone knows on the same page. And yes, we have to know your family. We have to know your situations. We have to know if you have a estate plan. I mean, that's for our security too, to make sure that everything's good and we have a plan B, basically.
I have to say, I appreciate how you guys explain things and the terminology you guys use that's very relatable. You mentioned the go-go, the slow-go, the no-go. I was recently at a family gathering. Unfortunately, a family member had passed, but I was talking with some family, and they said, well, what is your dad doing nowadays? Because I know he retired recently. And I said, oh, well, they got an RV, and they're traveling all the time, and they might be home for a month, and then they're gone for 2, and then they'll be back for a month, whatever. And they're like, well, they're just all over the place. Well, they're in the go-go years.
Oh, you said it.
And they're like, the what now? And I was like, oh, well, And I kind of started to explain, like, you go-go, and then you slow-go, and then eventually, if, depending on health or finances, they might decide that's the time to just stay near home. Dad'll go fishing on the weekends instead of, taking the trailer, the RV, and going cross country.
Well, that's a proud dad moment right there.
Yeah.
No, but now that is, it's pretty cliche, obviously, right? Because I have people are 85 plus, they're still snowbirding it. They're going to Florida.
Oh yeah.
So it doesn't mean every person is doing that, but it is a little bit of a generalization because it kind of does work that way for a lot of people. But no, I have people that come in at 65 that seem like they're 95.
Right.
And then I have people that are 95 that they are very witty and very, so it's very situational. And that's why you get to meet so many different kinds of personalities. And yeah, it's very rewarding when people remember what you told them. And, hey, you told me, like, if this happens, to give you a call. It's like, it's just really cool.
That is really cool. And we actually have a text on the line for somebody to read. So, Jeff, if you're there and you want to share that text with us, go ahead.
You bet. Good morning, everyone. Joan would like to know, at this point, I am receiving my deceased spouse's Social Security. How soon before I turn 70 can I find out if my Social Security is a larger amount?
That's a great question. Today. So you can actually call. So widowed spouses have a different set of rules.
Okay.
Because we got to make it confusing, obviously.
Oh, right.
Yes. So like right now collecting, so their special rule is like, yes, you can collect your spouse's Social Security and then you can let yours grow. So you let it cook. And 70 we know is the max.
Right.
But the cool part is you can call Social Security today and you're going to need your ex-spouse, not ex-spouse, widowed spouse's Social Security number. And basically you call your Social Security office, say, hey, you give them your Social Security number. I'm on Social Security through my widowed spouse. How much will mine be? And you can go, right now if I turned it on instead of my widowed spouse, or how much at 68, how much at 69, and how much at 70. So like they'll tell you that. Their software will say, yep, if you wait until 70, yours will be this much, and yours and the other one will be this much. So it's great to plan ahead when we do have situations like that. They'll tell you the next 5 years if you want. They'll tell you 65, 66, 67. But it really helps us for basically people that are widowed spouses. We can give them a pay raise.
Right.
It's like, hey, let's call Social Security. Let's turn yours on, and then basically it could be $200, $300, $400, maybe even $500 more. And maybe we don't wait till 70.
Right.
But that is a great tool. But yes, you can call Social Security today and they can tell you how much that would be just for planning in the future.
And if you happen to be in a spot where financially you're sitting great, you don't need it, you can let yours cook. Let it stay.
Absolutely.
And if it turns out you need it and it's higher, why not make the jump?
Right, because that's another, risk reward. It's like, okay, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So if you can get $200 more, and yes, you could wait another year, and at 70 and turn it on, it's like, is it worth it? Is it not? Do we need the money now or do we not? And then we have to look at the big picture, retirement assets, like how valuable is this Social Security to our actual, income plan? Do we have a pension? So there's so many variables. But yes, that was a great question because there is circumstances and special rules where that does apply.
Right. Well, there you go. And that's exactly why we open up the phone lines and the text lines. We do have some time left in the show, so if anybody wants to call in with another question, feel free. 920-885-4446, the phone line, or call or text at 920-887-9595. And again, Jeff Hall will be more than happy to read that text through to us.
Well, it was funny. I was at the gas station today, and she's like, "Oh, you got the radio show today?" I'm like, "Yep, yes, I do, every Friday." And she's like, "Well, sometimes you sound monotone." She's like, "You gotta get a little bit more pepped up." And it's like, I don't know how to do that. It's because when you're talking about, like, I feel like I'm on repeat sometimes.
Right.
You know, with Social Security, Medicare, I say the same phrases just because it's what I do every day. And so if there's any suggestions from anyone about like what you want to talk about, or, you know, for next week's show or the week after, or, you know, getting guests in, I am more than happy. I think we did mention that we might try to get the ADRC on here, even though they do come on here, but
Right.
It's just, they're such a great resource that, you know, not a lot of people reach out to, and it's like they absolutely should. They're non-biased. They will give you their honest opinion, and that's what they do. You know, they literally help. They advise you on different situations, and they can ask questions, or you can ask them questions also, and not worry about it. But yeah, but that's why, no, it's just a heads up on that, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And for what it's worth, I don't think you're monotone. I think you do a great job. But, you know, it's one of those things where it's a serious conversation. And, you know, we joke and we make fun. You know, I'll talk about often, you know, get that boat, I want that boat, whatever. And there is some jocularity that has to go to it because it is a very serious conversation.
It is, but I try to lighten it up.
Right.
You know, and but yeah, it's when you're just talking over the radio, I feel like I'm on repeat. But so like anything people want to talk about, you know, like, you know, what's the most difficult thing for this, or, you know, just absolutely, you can call our office, you could stop by, you know, call a radio station, say, hey, it'd be cool if you talked about this next week, or, you know, I kind of in this situation. I'm always looking for stuff to talk about because I feel like I'm on repeat, but the same questions come up because I'm dealing with the same situation for a lot of people, but different sometimes. You know,
people must be listening because we've actually got a call on line one. Let's go to the phones. Hello, you're on with Matt Heyer.
Hi there. I don't know if you talked about this question at all, but so I'm going to be 65 next year. And I get my insurance on the marketplace now, and because of my income, I don't have to pay no premium. So I'm getting my Social Security now. So I'm thinking about going on Medicare, but what's it going to cost me? You know, it's going to get deducted out of my Social Security, correct?
yeah. So 90 days prior. So since you're on Social Security already, or prior to Medicare age, 90 days prior, the government is going to mail you your Medicare card. They're going to sign you up automatically.
Okay.
So hypothetically, if it was this year, they would deduct $185 from your Social Security.
Okay.
So then,
Because I'm only getting 700 and something now. So can I just stay on the marketplace insurance for another year?
no. Well, yes. I mean, obviously until you turn 65, but you can't stay on the marketplace unless you pay the full premium.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh boy.
And we're not going to do that. But there
No.
is when they sign you up for Medicare, there's some extra help packets that they will send, and you can fill them out, and maybe you can get your Medicare paid for.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
So once you get your Medicare card, give us a call, and there's a big packet with it, and then it's like extra help, it's called, and then we fill it out, and then we send it back to Social Security, and you might be getting your Medicare paid for.
Well, excellent.
Yes.
Okay.
So all you got to do is just watch for the mail, because you're going to start getting a lot of mail, and
Yeah.
you'll get it from Health and Human Services. That's going to be your Medicare card 90 days prior to your birthday.
Okay, so like in December or January.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so thank you very much.
No problem. Great question.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
And of course, when those packets come in and you want to get those questions answered, that phone number to call you guys again, 920-887-0580.
That is correct.
Perfect. Well, Matt, remind everybody times that they can get in there at the office and see you. and where you guys are located again.
Yes, so we're at Heritage Mall. You can call us at 920-887-0580. And I almost forgot, we spring hours.
Spring hours. Okay.
Starting next Friday, we are closing Friday at 4 o'clock. So we're open 9 to noon, 1 to 5 every other day, but we are closing at 4 on Fridays. Summer hours.
I like it. I like it a lot. Get out there and enjoy the weekend a little bit earlier.
Yes.
Perfect. And that's what we're all hoping to do today, the Memorial Day weekend. So hopefully you have fun with that brisket. I'd say bring me some in next Friday, but I have a feeling, we'll be at the golf outing next Friday together.
Yes, we will.
And I have a feeling there won't be any left by then.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. This has been a great show. And, of course, we have to close it as we always do. So
When you want to retire?
call Hire. This has been a paid program. The advice and opinions expressed on the program are solely that of Hire Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands.